If it's HR manager, it's usually screening. It's usually cultural screening. So normally, if it's the first round, they're gonna ask you such like ridiculously generic questions that you have to be a really bad employee to fail that bit. I'm just saying, right? Like, they will be like, oh, have you ever came into situations where you've disagreed with someone? How do you give feedback, right? Or like, if you dislike how something is done in the team, what do you do? And in general, you want to take a proactive but not aggressive approach. I think that sums up almost every single cultural answer. You have to be proactive in bringing value to your team and voicing your opinions, but you can't do actions that are potentially aggressive or seen as offensive. So yeah, let's raise this as a example, right? So everyone can hear. So let's say your team implemented a process where like the team lead or the tech lead has to review every single PR before it goes to production. So basically, he's like a hard gate to any code. And everyone else's PR doesn't matter if his one just rejects. So, and you have an issue with that, right? So what are some things people have done? There are answers from some people where they're like, I'm just going to talk to his manager about it. Like usually they'll ask you, usually you say something like, oh, I'm going to talk to them about it, right? Like if you just straight up say, I'm going to talk to the manager, like you're gone. You're not going to pass that round. Yeah. So usually like if you're an okay employee, you still say in that step, like, oh, I'll confront them first and, suggest them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then the HR person will probably actually poke you a bit further and ask you, oh, like, what if it doesn't resolve anything?
Yeah, what if they're not willing to change or something?
Yeah, what if they're not willing to change? Yeah. And then you have the bait, the trap to say, I'll talk to their manager. Don't freaking say that. Yeah.
That's
like going above people's head is a freaking terrible idea. Yeah, it's really bad. Like, and it's also how like kind of office drama and, backstabbing or perceived backstabbing happens. So don't say that. So you should probably say something like, if nothing comes out of it, I think we should ask the team. So you're not going above, but you're kind of like bringing the issue up to a broader scope and letting everyone else decide, right? So this is actually realistically what you should do in that situation. If you've talked to them and nothing has happened, you should probably request get the team's opinion, because it's kind of like the government, right? Like you have to yield to your power, to your like superiorities or your authority, right? That's your role. But the power of you is that, but the reverse is also true. Like they have to listen to the people. Yeah. So in some ways you have to be a team player, right? So if your opinion is resonated through your team, then eventually the manager has to listen. Otherwise, eventually it'll just escalate anyway. Yeah.
And the way I'd actually answer a little bit differently. So generally with these kinds of questions, especially ones that are like tricked into kind of making you like, behave a certain way or say certain things, is I like to start off by kind of reiterating my position. So say they give me a hard question, you're like, okay, well, nothing's happening. What are you going to do, right? If in circumstances where I'm a little bit unsure, I start off by saying, well, if I am hired, I am a front-end web developer or I am a software engineer or whatever. That is my job role. And then from there, it becomes very clear. It's like, it's not my job to criticize management. It's not my job to change the way the company is working. And it's also not part of my job description to, create any sort of tension within the workplace. Like that's kind of the direction I'd go. I'd be probably a little bit more passive. Like I wouldn't even talk to the team. Like I'd be more like, I wouldn't bring that up. Like obviously you can do that and I think that's fine. But like I would probably say, this is my job role is to be a software engineer. And I understand that at this company, like my orders in terms of tech, in terms of writing code, come from my manager. And if I have a problem with my manager, then I should bring that up. If it's a personal issue, then I should bring that up with HR, right? Like if they're bullying me or something. But then if it's a coding issue, then my manager has the last say, and it's not something that I can personally escalate beyond him. Like that's the way I'd put it. I'd be probably a bit more passive.
I think I think the final thing is correct. Like when you say, you know, if nothing happens, like if I can't get anything through, then I eventually have to yield. I think that's right, but I think the problem with that thing, like not bringing it up, is that you're not proactive, and they actually want proactive people in almost every single scenario.
Right, so just 1 second.
Like-
when you say bring it up, do you mean bring it up with the manager or with your team?
Both the manager and the team.
Right. Because I think it's
Yeah.
okay to bring it up with the manager, but then I feel like if you bring it up with the team, because there's already like a divide between the manager and the team, like obviously, you know, you can't talk to the boss the way you talk to your coworkers, right? So because there's already that divide, I feel like if you talk to your team about an issue regarding your boss, it can very quickly create tension. Like that's kind of my
Well,
view.
not like solo. I mean, like more like, you know, call for a meeting or kind of thing, like open discussion, right? Not like I'm going to silo off my team and start talking about my manager. So, apologies if that's what you thought I meant.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah.
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 I think maybe, but yeah, maybe I'm a bit too soft. I agree though. I think that's
Maybe,
a
I
good
don't know,
attitude. Yeah.
But you're right. It also depends on the position, right? So if you're a front end dev, that'll probably get you over the line. As long as you don't say, I'm just going to report to his manager. As long as you don't say that,
Yeah.
you'll get across the line, right? But I guess if you're in like a team lead role or you're seeking like a senior role, right, then maybe you have to be that voice because that's actually part of your job.
I think that's
Yeah.
a key point here is like maybe your advice is better suited for someone who's like, you know, senior dev or like close to tech lead
Yeah.
type thing. But then if it's like, especially if they're a tech lead, because then talking to business people, you know, it's even more
you
so.
have to.
Yeah, but like if you're
Yeah,
just
you
like
have to be able to
if you're
push
just
your
like a
agenda.
junior dev or like, you know, mid-level front-end engineer or whatever, it's probably not even your place to like raise that to your
Yeah.
It's just I just think, you know, maybe just, you know,
Yeah,
this is
I
the
agree.
place you're in. You just have to shut up and deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the take home is just don't be aggressive. Like just don't be. I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
report
I
to
love
his
that line
manager.
though. I love how you
Yeah.
said like be proactive but not aggressive. Yeah, I
Yep.
think that's true.